Well, hello there. To continue on trying to be more transparent about game changes, today Amazon Game Studios has released another set of patch notes for the zone we recently covered. We got the chance firsthand to experience a lot of this, but I still love doing a deep dive into each individual change. Starts off, of course, by introducing the new zone, giving a brief description of what we can expect. It's a level 58 to 60 area, which is where I'd probably get to before I entered, but you might be okay to travel in some parts of this as early as 55. Alongside the zone, we also get the new addition of fishing, some new changes to the threat system, the AI in general, and more. The next part consists of a small spotlight of the zone's lore. Reekwater is known as a place where life and death shake hands, considered by its builders to be the new Venice of the island. This area, and hope of its future, were quickly shattered upon the arrival of the Siren Queen. Her reach extended across most of Reekwater, even as her and the crew became lost. This entire spotlight seems to speak as if the Siren Queen is still alive and active. We didn't get an opportunity to see her directly in the special event, but there's only a few places I can think of where she might be. As you probably saw, during the end of my time I was able to discover that there is actually an arena inside of Reekwater. Now it does say there's a Spriggan in there, but it wouldn't surprise me if that just ended up being a placeholder and the true boss we fight is the Queen herself. Now after that, a more likely area she might actually be is just below her giant statue in the spine. Just below where I was able to reach in the event, I noticed this wide open area that seemed perfect for a boss fight. I didn't see any way to get on top of her monument, so I'm thinking they might just place her here instead, unless we have to discover her another way. After that though, we get a small update on the story quest that Reekwater will provide. We'll be encountering new quests and NPCs that lead us on the path to discover the origins of these Azoth-infused waters, including the cycle of life for Dryads and the roles that ancient guardians play. So far the ones we've experienced during the event were pretty similar to the ones we've seen before, but honestly when it comes to questing, there's not really a whole lot you can innovate on that other games haven't already done, other than cinematic storytelling, which I would definitely love to see for New World. After that, we get a new description of the new enemy types. We have 4 different swamp dryads, including, I would imagine, the new dryad warrior and bowman. Then we have the undead brute, which I was able to encounter and take down, but also got the chance to see the bigger version of it on my way up the spine. We also have 2 new swamp fiends and the creepers, which are those angry earth tentacles with some new mechanics of their own. Between the corrupted version and these, I kinda feel like these ones put up a bigger challenge. Their projectiles can also cause poison damage, but also, they can burrow beneath the ground and travel close to or right up on you, meaning you gotta be super careful with these guys. Sufferance of the Elders is a swamp version of the beast that pulls minions from the ground, and also they added the Protector of the Source, which is the boss version of it. I don't think I remember encountering this one to be honest, nor do I remember what the other version of this is. I'm drawing a blank on that one right now, but if anyone remembers, would really appreciate a comment on that. Looking forward to fighting this thing either way though. The next part of the update dives into fishing. The new mechanic introduced into Eternum that allows us to finally have a way to gather our own fish for cooking. Super glad we're moving away from the provision chest being the main source. And I hope that this continues, maybe even into real farms we can place outside our homes, and more static spawns of produce around the map, especially the ones we're still missing. But overall for the fishing, showcased the mechanic a bit in my previous video and I'm still going to pump out the dedicated guide for it, but the gist of it is that now there's 40 different types of fish, each region gets their own fishing spots and your chance to discover them is based around your fishing skill, but you can also fish just about anywhere you want to. We can craft the fishing rods inside the workshop, which I did get a chance to see, and there's a total of 11 perks related to fishing now. Plus, just like I was thinking, fishing quests will also be a thing in this game. I think I found one of the NPCs that'll give us these, and I'll be sure to showcase that in the guide along with the location if I have that recorded. After that, we have new changes to the threat system. Previously, we saw how they were adding specific perks related to generating threat. Now they've confirmed my suspicion that the charge ability for the sword and shield would get its taunt generation back, which I'm really happy to see because that's going to be perfect for tanking these bosses, along with the fact that blocking generates taunt too. Wouldn't have expected that honestly, but thank God they did it. That'll give us multiple ways to properly manage threat on boss mobs. Healing now generates threat too, and also the shield bash ability as well. For their enemy elite system, they wanted them to become more challenging than before, and offer some unique gameplay twist. To accomplish this, they've started to add some more traits to enemies that can vary. These traits consist of 3 different categories: offensive, defensive, and utility. Keep in mind, this shouldn't be something you'll see all the time, but you'll probably come across this in areas like Mangled Heights and the newly added Eternal Ponds. The offensive trait focuses on providing elemental damage, damage bonuses, and block bonuses to these mobs. For defensive, it's increased health, increased armor, and increased resistance. For utility, they might explode on death or even cast a frost aura. They also added a buff on all elites and champions. This makes their grid attacks unbreakable but reduces the block damage they do. Now I like the fact that they're making these mobs more challenging in more than just stats. I don't like it when a game defaults to just increasing the health or damage of a mob and calls it harder, but don't try to introduce any mechanics along with that. I hope in the future they default towards doing that more. Give us some mobs that set themselves on fire and try to hug us, or ones that can teleport, ones that have some kind of pull or hook ability that they attempt to throw at us and we can dodge. Stuff like that would be really cool. Some of these mobs are nice so far, but we will need some more variety when they start adding in some new zones. Then we've got the weapon and balance updates, starting with targeted healing. Now for these changes specifically, I'm not feeling too comfortable about all of them, but this one I definitely love. When using Healing Pulse or Divine Embrace, the friendly player closest to our character's reticle will be locked onto. Pressing left mouse button will then cast the healing ability on the target, which is nice, but I think we need this for Siphon too. Would really help out in the territory war. Target lock can also be switched to other friendly players via the mouse wheel, and you can switch it to manual targeting by clicking the middle mouse button. We can also self-cast healing spells by holding down Control, and this one is a lifesaver right here. Even during that event, I was trying to land Divine Embrace because of how good of a heal it was for my Dex and Focus build. And oh my god, it was a nightmare trying to get that Circle Telegraph to move under my character. Completely forgot to talk about that, but hell yeah, I'm sure healers are gonna love this one. Now this next one, I have a pretty big feeling reactions to it are going to be mixed. Before I even talk about it, let's skip past and cover the last few changes really quick. I want to end on this one. For the musket, they've taken the trap skill that previously had a 21.9 second cooldown and increased that bad boy up to 30 seconds. On the life staff, the smite skill had its morphs changed a little bit. Bonus damage from Empowered Smite has been reduced from 25% down to 15%, and Ultimate Smite has been reduced down to 25%, which does make sense because in quite a few cases, the Smite spell was insane for chunking your health in PvP. Was kinda fun to use though. And for Sword, the Intimidating Rush had its slow increase from 3 seconds to 4. After that, we get some quality of life changes like being able to change the visibility options for nameplates, letting us pin 6 different quest lines instead of 3, and additions to the Weapon Mastery tutorial. Okay, now that we've covered these points, there's one change specifically I want to tackle directly, and that's the critical hit system that's now been added. Now if you don't remember, when we were talking about the last changes I said I was still on the fence regarding the shared cooldowns being removed from abilities. Since then, and being able to do some testing, at least on the player versus environment side, I've grown to be a little bit more comfortable with it. This seems like another one of those situations. It could still be a disaster in PvP, but that's something we'll have to find out. I am extremely curious to see what happens here because with a game like this, I feel like it'd be difficult to incorporate a crit system and have it actually work. Now that being said, if the build we played on during the event already incorporated critical hits, then even though they don't get called out in orange text like these notes say, I barely even noticed any difference. So honestly, it might be just fine. But right now, they said that currently, the crit chance ranges from 3 to 5% depending on the weapon, but to expect more variation and weapons focused on critical hit in the future. This part is a nice tease because they might be talking about weapons like dual daggers, especially with the backstab mechanic, something that I would love to see make its way into the game alongside the upcoming rapier. The critical hit chance itself on the other hand and how much damage this does is a different story. It says all weapons have a critical modifier on them which determines the extra damage they do when they crit. What I want to know is how much damage we'll be taking and how this affects not only the PvE experience but PvP as well. With the other changes, it does seem like New World is shifting more towards the traditional MMO side, and I do have an opinion on how this could either go good or how it could go bad, but I would rather hear your thoughts on this. What do you guys think about these changes so far and how they might impact the game's future? Let us all know in the comments below. And with that, thanks so much for joining me for this breakdown. Have a wonderful night or day, and farewell.